Time now for me to introduce my guests for the morning. In the blue corner, we have Kojo Poku. He's an energy expert. Kojo and Safwa Poku. He holds the keys to energy. And then we also have Wisdom Dogbe, Dr. Wisdom Kofi Dogbe, a financial analyst. He holds the keys to our finances, to the money on the show this morning. So one holding the energy, one holding the money. Mr. Dogbe or Dr. Dogbe, give the money to Kojo Poku, and Kojo Poku will give us light. You know me so. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
How are you both? Kojo, I really like your traditional fugu. It's pretty nice.
Well, it tells you, it is to give you an indication of where I have been for the past 1 week. So I've been at that, I'm in my homeland. I'm in my homeland of the Upper East. So I'm very comfortable here.
Oh, awesome. That's great to know. Which specific place in the Upper East region are you?
We're in Boga.
Okay. All right. Okay, gentlemen. So like we usually do, we want to make tracks very quickly so that we can dilate on a number of issues. Kojo, I'll start with you. Your issue for the morning. 1 minute, gentlemen. 1 minute each. Kojo.
No problem. I'll just have to use the 1 minute to thank the good people of the North and the good people of Upper East for the good hospitality they've given us. We've been here for over 2 weeks and it's been wonderful. And I just want to use this opportunity to say thank you to everybody who stood in the rain, stood in the sun, stood in all sorts of weather to welcome us, to hear the good message of Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. And it's been wonderful, and I can't appreciate them much enough.
All right. Thank you very much. Wisdom?
But I was a bit troubled when I read that the Ghana Police Service, they have filed an injunction to prevent a planned protest by our Gen Z citizens. I think that that demonstration has been planned to start from July 31st to August 6th to bring attention to the severe economic hardship, which is disproportionately affecting the youth in the country. I struggle to understand why such an injunction has been brought. I believe that the police, they do have guidelines that govern some of these protests, and I'm hoping that the courts would side with the youth so they can have a voice. We need to empower them.
I see. Well, interesting thoughts there. Let's quickly get into the papers. And if time allows, I would want us to get into some major issues on myjoyonline.com. The GRA Finance Ministry being sued over tax waivers and Kweku Kwarteng and some of what he's been saying. But the Ghanaian Times is where I want to start. Second phase UHAS project, biggest nursing midwifery school opens as president receives honorary doctorate degree. We've not paid $10 million to SGAG, that's according to the Bank of Ghana, on the alleged payment for spare parts for ambulances. Question though, first batch poultry products under FSRP ready for market consumption, and then give us power to bite, EPA says. Then we need 1 year extension to complete Ofankor Nsawam road project. Charlie. Anyway, on that one, Mariposa Enterprise Limited, the construction company working on the Ofankor Nsawam dual carriageway road project, has requested 1 year's extension to complete the work. Thus, the project will now be expected to be completed in July next year. If you live on that stretch, that's not heartwarming. The $346.5 million road rehabilitation project is jointly funded by the government and Mariposa Enterprise Limited, a wholly owned Ghanaian construction company, which is also executing the project under a design-build contract with the Associated Consultants Limited as the supervising consultants. Well, that's the story there. If you live on that stretch, Baba now. Give us power to buy. The executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. John Kingsley Kurugu, says transforming the agency into an authority will strengthen its regulatory functions and prosecutorial powers to bite better. He said the MPA needed to take a strong leadership drive in environmental protection, adding that its regulations would be hinged on the new bill, which is at the consideration stage in Parliament. I'm going very quickly, gentlemen, so if there are issues you want to touch on, I'll be going very quickly with them. You can note them down. When I come to you, then you reflect on them. Now, let's go to page 12, the president and that latest bit. So President Nana Akufo-Addo yesterday inaugurated the biggest school of nursing and midwifery in West Africa on the campuses of the University of Health and Allied Sciences at Sokode Lokwe in the whole municipality of the Volta region. The school, which constituted the second phase of the establishment of UHAS, was constructed with a $60 million loan facility from the Chinese government. Something someday I want to go into. We all know our indebtedness to the Chinese, but what that means in terms of our GDP ratio, GDP debt ratios and others. I'm asking that because we know about the Chinese footprint on the continent of Africa and how some of them have become unsustainable. I don't think we should be very careful about those bits. But it has a central administration block, lecture theatres, recovery rooms, intensive care unit, a delivery ward, and a holding bay, among others, and has the capacity to enroll more than 5,000 students. Of course, we also know the president received an honorary doctorate degree from the University of Health and Allied Sciences. The last story I'll do and then come to you, gentlemen. So 4 stories for your reflection. We've not paid $10 million to SGAG, that's according to the Bank of Ghana, which has denied claims. It has paid an amount of $10 million to the Service Ghana Auto Group for spare parts and maintenance contract it entered with the Ghana Ambulance Service. A source within the bank disclosed to the Ghanaian Times that no payment had been made so far, since no demand had been placed for such payments to be effected. The claim is in response to allegations by Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Samuel Kudjatu Ablakwa, that the government had made some payments to SGAG for the spare parts it supplied to the Ghana Ambulance Service. Question though, why did Ken Ofori-Atta sign that 34-point-something million contract in the dying embers, the final week of his tenure when he knew he was leaving? And with all the linkages in there, and the fact that in fact, you can use the sums in there with just a little top-up to buy a brand new ambulance. Anyway, gentlemen, your thoughts. I'll start with you, Wisdom.
Look, man, when it comes to this ambulance servicing contract, whether it is a $35 million or $10 million, right, it is very concerning. When would these things end? When would the national purse be managed properly so that we can get value for money? We have companies that are formed yesterday with no proven track record. And by tomorrow, they are awarded multi-million-dollar contracts. Are these things even legal by the public procurement law? Would these government officials...
The Auditor General had refuted this company, just as happened with SML and all of that. They had been pushed back from the Auditor Generals, yet a short while later, you see them getting contracts.
Right, and this is not just an isolated case. It's happened over and over again, right? Will these government officials run their private businesses the way they run the business of the nation? Awarding contracts with no reasonable due diligence that is done on the company that they are giving these contracts to. This company is awarded a contract and they use the staff of the National Ambulance Service to do the job. What is wrong with us as a nation, Ben? It's an unfortunate trend that has plagued Ghana in the last few years. Look at the case of SML, just like you said, and the 5G contract that was awarded recently. In fact, I can name a host of them, right? Look, I'm struggling to comprehend how the decision was made to spend such an amount of money on spare parts for one ambulance when you could have simply bought a new one. And these vehicles I had were bought in just 2019. Why do you need so much money for maintenance on a 5-year-old vehicle? And is this administration not currently prosecuting Honorable Dr. Akufo-Addo and others for allegedly causing financial loss to the state?
That's the irony of it.
Right. So how is this one any different from that case? And why is this not in court as well? If you don't think spending $113,000 on spare parts for one vehicle is causing financial loss to the state, I think a special place awaits you on Judgment Day. It's a travesty and a sad day for our nation to be discussing this.
All right. Anything else you'd like to share, or can I move on to Kojo Poku?
Kojo, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
Well, you don't need to hear my thoughts. You know, when you hear something, listen to the details before you start talking about things being in court or not being in court. Nothing has been paid to anybody. No contract has, there's no 5G contract given to anybody. Some of these details, let's please educate the populace for them to understand what's going on. There's been no 5G contract given to anybody. There's only an agreement signed with a consortium to provide infrastructure in the country for 5G. So no contract has been given to anybody. Secondly, this issue, let me land, please. You can make your notes. this issue of the country, okay, where you say that we manage things anyhow. Look, there are proper due process. No money in this ambulance issue. Unfortunately, since this thing came up, we've been in the north, so I don't have enough information on it. But one thing I know is that no money has been paid to anybody, as Ben rightfully said. And there's going to be a proper investigation to understand why that amount of money.
But you're a businessman. You're a businessman. Let me ask you, for a company that has been flagged by the Auditor General on multiple occasions, just as SML was flagged, and yet goes along to receive a contract. As a private businessman, you have what? Is it gas up oil and all of that? Would you have done that? And I ask you another question. The sum of money involved, would you rather buy a new tanker or spend a margin of about $10,000 difference to get spare parts? No, hold on. To get spare parts for an old vehicle, which likely would have problems. Which one would you do as a private businessman?
Ben, and it's a good thing you asked me, because I'm from a family of transport owners. We've owned transport all our lives, okay? And let me tell you something. You need parts. We all don't know the details of the parts to be procured, but everybody is jumping up and down saying that it's a lot. Do we know the details of the 10 million?
If you buy a $100,000 Mercedes-Benz, if you buy a $100,000 Mercedes-Benz, will you be buying spare parts at $85,000?
Ben, you asked a question, let me answer. What I'm trying to explain to you is that I don't have all the details. You don't have all the details. All everybody is doing is dividing the number of ambulance. We don't even know what the details are. Can you tell me what the spare parts are to be bought? I have not seen a single document out there that is telling us the details of the spare parts to be bought. Meanwhile, everybody is basically crucifying this transaction.
You know my problem. You know my problem with such an analysis is just what I just said. You can use logical reasoning. It's not everything, else we wouldn't discuss anything here.
Yeah,
would want to see, hold for me. Would want to see every little dot, every T crossed, every I dotted before we'd be able to discuss anything. On the surface of it, and I want to tell you that if you were on the other side and this had happened, you wouldn't be speaking the way you are.
I would not.
Because I know you.
As you asked me, I'm a businessman. Ben, you asked me as a businessman. I'm a businessman. Every businessman has stock of parts. If you're a transport owner, you have stock of parts. What I am saying is that we all do not have the list of spare parts that were to be bought. And I'm not holding brief. Ben, let me learn. I'm not holding brief for that transaction, but you asked me a direct question. What I am saying is that let's dive into this thing. No money has been paid. Okay, let's get the list of the spare parts to be bought before we basically do what? Have this discussion. But let me move on to my substantive documentation, my substantive what you call it? I want to talk on the UHAS.
So make it brief before, because I see that Kofi also wants to just add on to that, so I can go to another paper. Kojo, back to you.
Okay, but my main submission is on the UHAS, which is the health facilities around the country. You spent all
your time on the ambulance.
This government has done a lot in health. And it's unfortunate that we have my brother Semijan Figos on Metro to say that nobody can mention one district hospital. I put out a statement that mentioned minimum of 5, and he has not responded. Because, look, everybody should do their research. This Nanado government, this Dr. Baumia Nanado government is doing immense transition in education and health, and we should all applaud them for it.
All right, thank you very much. Kofi, quick point.
You started off by saying that no single dollar has been paid yet. These are all agreements. Are you aware of this contract that was given to provide internet services to SHS, right, senior high schools? The money was paid, and internet service is now being provided. That's just one example, right? You can cherry pick, right? You can choose and pick what issues you want to talk about or what examples you want to talk about. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, this is a trend that we need to talk about, that this whole thing about sole sourcing, what individual companies, they are formed yesterday, tomorrow they get contracts, and they are paid huge sums of money. And we have our teachers that are begging for just a little bit of a raise in their salaries, and they are still on strike. Does these things make sense to anybody at all?
I don't want this to turn into a new discussion and argument. Please,
ask me a question, I should answer.
Okay, go ahead. 20 seconds. Let's go.
Well, the issue of the busy internet thing that he talks about. The only monies that has been given to Busy Internet is internet provided. Nobody has given them a lump sum for internet not provided. Currently, Busy Internet went through a transition to a new company, and that company is having challenges. But if you go and check the records, nobody has since paid them any money. It is used and paid. The internet provided is what the government has paid for.
But what I know, Kojopoku, they have received money for internet not provided. Are you aware of that? Or are you telling me you're oblivious to that?
At the time when they have been paid, they did provide the internet at the time. Now the internet is not working. So if you go and check the invoices presented, they presented invoices for internet used.
Okay. I think for everything we're discussing this morning, you have a different set of documentation or
opinions, because as always, you call me the expert and I give you the information. That's the most important thing.
Well, you're an energy analyst or expert in energy, but not in everything. No one of us is an expert in everything. Nobody is an expert in everything.
You and I know that.
Let's do the economy times. Trade surplus improves slightly for first half 2024. Interest rates to remain stable. There's also government records 2% deficit for first half 2024. So Ghana's trade surplus for the first half of 2024 has improved slightly, driven by higher exports relative to imports. The trade surplus improved to $1.81 billion in the first half of the year, compared to the surplus of $1.6 billion recorded in the corresponding period of 2023. I'm wondering, though, because I reviewed this same story, Economy Times, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know, but interest rates to remain stable as well. Government records 2% deficit for first half 2024. Let me quickly get into the Daily Guide newspaper now. You can lump your thoughts together. Court dismisses case against Ameu, $2.37 million ambulance case. And that's the other ambulance case, Richard Jakpa and then Atto Forsen. CDS nails Jakpa on his dismissal. Interesting how the Daily Guide always couches its headlines, because yesterday I followed that discussion. EC starts voter registration mop-up August 1, and Parliament passes Ghana Shippers Authority bill. So let me just take a quick look at some of these stories. A high court in Ho has dismissed a petition challenging the constitutionality of the election of John Peter Ameu as the Member of Parliament for Hohoe in the Volta region in the 2020 election. The court, presided over by Justice Owahene Echampong, yesterday indicated that it did not have jurisdiction to determine the relief sought by the plaintiffs as they sought to question CI-12H with the Electoral Commission used in the conduct of the election. Well, hopefully this year there will not be any such problems. NHIA outdoors free annual health checkup program. And the National Health Insurance Authority yesterday launched a major health promotion activity aimed at fostering preventive health care among Ghanaians. The activity, Annual Health Checkup, is captured under the National Health Insurance Scheme benefit package and will thus offer free health screening for blood pressure, blood sugar, and body mass index checks, as well as counseling and referrals where needed for all Ghanaians 18 and above. I think this is something that we've heard in recent times from Dr. Da Costa Abuaje, a few things in there, some of them being actualized. Then I'll just do the EC exercise and wrap. That story also on page 6. So the Electoral Commission has announced that it will begin a mop-up voter registration exercise starting from August the 1st to the 3rd, 2024, in all the 261 district offices of the Commission across the country. Speaking at a press briefing yesterday in Accra, the Deputy Chair of the EC in charge of operations, Samuel Tete, said apart from the district offices of the Commission, the exercise, which starts from 7 a.m. and ends at 6 p.m. each day, will also take place in 26 public universities and 41 prison centers. Any thoughts, reflections, Kofi?
Ben, this mop-up voter registration exercise is important, right, to ensure further voter inclusion and also accuracy of the voter roll across the country. And I hope that the EC will draw on the lessons learned, in recently passed registration exercises, to make the mop-up much more seamless. And my hope is that the political parties will also do their parts to ensure a successful and successful remedial registration, because the last time, if you remember, we had reports such as some political parties, they were trying to illegally register minors to vote. Reports of violence at places like Edujama and for North Southeast constituency, and also in Kukuom in the Ahafo region and a few other places. You see, it's not everything that is the fault of the EC, even though they have a lot of opportunities to improve.
Right.
The citizens also have a huge role to play, Ben, in ensuring that we have a smoother voter registration. Things like this. I mean, trying to register minors illegally.
Right.
A check of the disturbances we've heard about, all of the troubles, right, and all the troubles that were fomented, some of these were by people who have little to no regard for the rule of law. And I hope that those people can be put in check during this voter registration exercise.
All right. Thank you for those thoughts. There's also, I can't skip this one. CDS nails.
I can't speak. Hey, Ben,
my apologies. My apologies. Go ahead.
Hey, is that where we've got into now? You have forgotten that I'm on the program.
Propaganda here with you.
No, but Ben, just yet.
You know, the way we do on air, then we meet outside. Could you go ahead? Please go ahead. You would have skinned me alive. My apologies.
Anyway, I want to talk about the good things that are happening in the country. Look, trade surplus is improved. The interest rate is coming down, stable and coming down. All these things point to an economy that has made a U-turn and basically going in the right trajectory. Right. As you are aware, if we go on the same trajectory we are on now, for once in a very long time, we will get a budget surplus of about 0.5% of GDP, which is a good thing. We are up in the north with the finance minister, and he tells me some of the good things that is happening on almost of the projects that stalled, which are about to start. We have to congratulate our brother, Dr. Da Costa, who is doing amazing things and bringing some good innovation to the NHIS system. And some of the things that they are rolling out is very good, and it's for the average person who needs some of these things. So I think I'll congratulate him for the good work that he's doing. And also, I think, Ben, you agree, his media relationship is very good. He's basically giving out a lot of information and appearing a lot more on the media circuit than other heads of NHIS that we've had. So I think you guys should help him also achieve more with the announcement of the things that he intends to do.
He's doing very well with that. Another person who was doing pretty well, Dr. Okoboy, he was also doing. Okay. A politician I actually like very much, though sometimes.
Oh, you don't like Kojo?
I said, Kojo, we are friends. How can I be your friend if I don't like you? Anyway, so that's that. Let's look at the story on page 3, and then we'll make tracks from here. So, the ambulance case. The Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Thomas Oppong-Pepra, yesterday added further credence to the prosecution's case. Interesting how the story is couched. That Richard Jakpa was dishonorably discharged from the army. While under cross-examination by the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfrey Adame, the military capo confirmed that Jakpa had been released honorably from the army. He would have been, if that had happened, he would have been permitted to use his title in private life, and he would have had his name on the list of retired soldiers. So he did confirm that he was not honorably discharged. But there were a number of other questions that came up, including the fact that the Chief of Defense Staff was not aware that this documentation or information on Richard Jakpa had been sought, but it was the Minister of Defense who had provided this information. I mean, when I followed part of the processes, I was scratching my head and asking questions along the way, but hey, it is what it is, isn't it? If you have any quick reflections, gentlemen, Kojo and Kofi, we can take a quick swipe at that. If not, we move on.
Yeah, quickly. I think the third accused, Mr. Jakpa, he definitely deserves the opportunity, to defend himself against what he calls a plot to smear him and to denigrate his integrity. The AG and his office have produced a letter as a basis for the dismissal of the accused from the military. And that letter said he was dismissed due to persistent misconduct. And the defendant is saying that he has no knowledge of the letter in question. So I think it was in the best interest of all the parties involved to have the Armed Forces representative, the Chief of Defense Staff, to attest under oath, right, to the authenticity of that letter. And the CDS said that Jakpa was dismissed for lack of interest. And he also said that he had no idea how the AG and the Minister of Defense came up with a letter.
Indeed.
Then that they caught and admitted as evidence. Let that sink in a little bit.
Well, there was also talk about his use. There was also talk about his use of a vehicle and otherwise, and letting his driver off and using the vehicle. Some things came up, but like you rightly said, lots of food for thought. Kojo?
Well, it is food for thought, but look, you said that he needs the opportunity to defend himself. The man is in a court of competent jurisdiction, so there's no better opportunity for defending yourself than the court, and he's being given the fairest trial that anybody can ever get. He is going to go through it. If he's guilty, he's guilty. He's not guilty, he will come home. My concern is the length of time these processes take. When you have a friend, a brother or a sister or a family member accused in court, it takes too long, whether the person is guilty or not guilty. I hope this trial is over quickly so we all know the results and everybody can just breathe a sigh of relief.
Well, Justice Ifeasewa, I believe that's her name. It's a pretty long name, but she had mentioned at some point that she wanted the process to be done quickly before the political season. I don't think things are going according to plan. But one thing I'll say, in the law, anyone who has any knowledge of the law will know that it is not about justice merely being done. Justice must be seen to have been done. I'll leave it to the courts and
Ben,
all these prosecutions. You don't need to say anything, Kojo Poku. I'm merely saying that justice, I am well versed with the law. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm well versed with the law. And justice must be done. It must not merely be seen to be done. This is trite knowledge. But anyway, the new find of newspaper. Lithium fiscal regime advantageous, but potential risks that could impact the expected revenue exist. NRGI says so. CD strengthens against pound sterling. And as of now, at least for what I know about the dollar, which is very worrying to me because most people use the dollar in Ghana, you're looking at north of 20%. The last I checked was 18 point something. The last one, I think, was it June or entering July, over 20%. You have 1/5 eroded. Bank of Ghana warns of elevated credit risk amid banking sector recovery. And President Akufo-Addo commissioned $60 million Phase 2 expansion project of UHAS, boosting agriculture. Insights from Ghana's mid-year budget review for farmers, agripreneurs, and agricultural associations. Well, I want to wrap quickly with this and then look at some of the online stories, then we can go. I'll just look at the lithium bit, and then we can take it from there for the sake of time. So, an assessment of the fiscal regime of Ghana's lithium agreement by the Natural Resource Governance Institute indicates that while the country's take for the first lithium agreement is higher than the existing legislated fiscal regime and the regimes of many others, such as Australia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Zimbabwe, there are several potential risks that could impact the expected revenue. The report, which was authored by Dennis Jair, Africa Senior Program Officer, and Thomas Skerfield, Africa's Senior Economic Analyst of NRGI, said the government had negotiated a fiscal regime for the Ewoya mine that ensured a higher share of revenue for the country. We also know that lithium exploration is on a bit of a time leash. You have to maximize it now because many other places are coming up with it before it loses its value. But I'll throw these stories at you as well. The Ghana Revenue Authority and the Finance Ministry are facing a lawsuit over plans to grant tax waivers to 42 companies under the One District, One Factory initiative. The suit was initiated by 3 minority members of parliament led by their deputy leader, Emmanuel Ama Kofi Boa. Then, other stories for your reflection. Kweku Kwarteng, solving Ghana's problems goes beyond voting out NPP. He said in that release on dated the 25th day of July that our economy for decades has been run like a Ponzi scheme. And that the way things are headed, I'm sure you understand if you've read the document. And his final bit, my article wasn't an attack on Akufo-Addo's government. That is Kweku Kwarteng. Gentlemen, I'll start with you, Kojo. A minute and a half each, and then we can go. Your thoughts on these matters?
Mr. Kweku Kwarteng, Honorable Kweku Kwarteng, was a deputy finance minister. He had opportunity to serve his country. If he had ideas that he thinks things should be turned around, I think he should have preferred them and acted on them whilst he was at the finance ministry. Again, people are making it look like the statement he made was in specific relation to the MPP, but he may say that the governance structure, the finance structure that we have from independence to date is run like a Ponzi scheme. He never said the MPP government, and everybody is on air trying to make it look like he now attacking MPP government.
Don't do this. He said that for decades, and he references this administration in that letter, and you're telling me that he's trying to refer to other administrations, not this one.
Man, what
kind of logic is that?
No, but what are decades? He said that for decades. What a decade is 10 years minimum. So what are decades?
I never said that it was restricted to this administration. He says for decades our economy has been run by a Ponzi scheme, including this one. How can you extricate this administration from it?
I am not talking about you. I'm saying that online, every reporting in this when this thing came out made it look like he made mention. That is why Honorable Akufo-Addo have said that he is not attacking the Akufo-Addo government, because the reportage has made it seem that he's talking the Akufo-Addo government is run like a Ponzi scheme. That is why I'm correcting it. Because what he said that for decades. So it is not the attack on this government. It is not, he is not saying that this government, the MPP administration or the Nana Addo Dankwa administration is run the finance like a Ponzi scheme. So it's good that we put out there. Me and you are saying the same thing.
You're saying that he's referring to the past, not this current administration is not part of it.
From the past till now. That is why I started my submission from saying that he was appointed in the deputy finance ministry.
So by that same logic, it means from the past up to this point, including this administration, has been run like a Ponzi scheme, our economy.
That is according to him. Okay. But that is why I started off by saying that he had opportunity to serve. So whilst at the finance ministry, he should have preferred solution on how to change them. That's why I started off by saying that.
In like manner, it's good that you've said that, because you say that since he was there, he had the opportunity. He should have used that opportunity. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is vice president. We have tried to extricate him from everything in there, including taxes, the e-levy, and his rhetoric. Would you apply that same yardstick to him? Because he's there, he's vice president. He could have effected change. How about that?
Okay, so there is this. Let me explain it in one sentence. There is trying and coming out to say that I tried and I wasn't successful, then not to try and come out and make a condemnation. Doctor has not come out to tell anybody that there is a problem at the presidency. Akufo-Addo is coming out to say that there's a problem at the Ministry of Finance. And the question I'm saying, at the point I'm putting out there, is that he was once there and he should have made a change. Have we heard Dr. Bawumia complain about anything at the presidency?
Okay.
No.
All right.
So I think that...
So
thank you very much. Kojo, we don't have all the time. I gave you a minute and a half. You've done 3 minutes.
I'm
sorry.
I'm sorry. My last point on the city. The city is improving. Everything is going. The lithium is very important.
20 seconds.
And with that's fine. With the big policy that we have on solar, about 2,000 megawatts of solar to be rolled out, we need a lot of lithium batteries. And if the value chain is done right, Ghana can utilize all the lithium that comes out from that industry.
Thank you. Kofi, you have the final word.
I think that the problem with us as Ghanaians or for our countries, we are always looking for who to blame, right? Who to blame. As far as
he did not interject when you were talking. Let him speak, please.
Kojo, a Ponzi scheme is when you take new funds from new from new investors and use that to service existing investors or creditors. That's exactly what we've been doing as Ghanaians. We take loans and then we go back and take loans to service. Look, I read something recently, just yesterday. We have 478 Eurobond repayment that is due to be paid, right? And that payment has to be made this year. Where is that money going to come from? The Bank of Ghana governor, he said that we have enough reserves to use to pay that amount of money. Think about it yourself. Where do you think that reserve money is coming from? Where do you think we got it from? It is from one source, which is not from the proceeds or the positive returns that we got from the initial loan to service the original loan, which is a Ponzi scheme. That's something that we need to work on as a nation, to take loans and deploy them to revenue producing ventures so that the nation can benefit from these things.
Thank you, gentlemen. Kojopoku is an energy analyst. We also have...
I don't get to respond.
No. We are done. You already had your say. There's no back and forth on this.
I even wish I talked about the lithium because I disagree with you.
Here's what I'll do. I can share his number with you, Kojopoku. Then you guys can do the job over there.
No, you bend my ears. It's okay.
Kojopoku is an energy analyst. Dr. Wisdom Dogbe is a financial analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. As they go, I want to highlight an issue I'm very passionate about. What happened to Lois Coranting, a KNUST graduate who was found dead under mysterious circumstances at a hotel in Takoradi? That story is on myjoyonline.com. And the family has released new evidence to challenge the police and the hotel. We must look out for one another. What happened to this lady? Unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. We must get to the bottom of it.